The Selfish Path to Romance. Download Chapter 1 for free at drkenner.com.
Ayana, you're having some difficulty with somebody who's not always right, and you want to know how to deal with them?
Yeah, well, basically, it took me a long time to get the question right.
Okay.
But this person is a very difficult person to deal with. I'm not the only person that he's frequently wrong. I'm wondering if, in fact, he has selective hearing or amnesia, and I'm just not sure how to deal with him.
Okay. Is he at work, or are you married to him, or relation?
We're in a live-in relationship.
Okay. And by live-in, you mean you live together and it's a romantic partnership?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And tell me what goes on. What are you observing? Because I think your question is this a memory problem, or is he just avoiding me, or is he clueless, or
I'm curious if he's avoiding a lot of things. For one, like when we have a discussion, he frequently forgets what he says to me. And then later in the conversation, if it comes up again, it's not exactly what we talked about. I don't think it's a problem with memory, if you will. I think it's a character flaw. That sounds terrible to say, but yeah, I mean, he'll argue me down about something he is so wrong about. He's not correct at all. And I'm just at a standpoint with him where I feel like it's pulling teeth just to get him to communicate. And he says, I'm a bad communicator, and I don't think that's true either, but I'm not sure what to do.
okay, so you're saying he forgets. Sometimes I can forget what my husband tells me, or he can forget what I've told him, and that's because we're really focused on something else. We may be answering an email and we're only half listening, and we give out that you know how you can say, yeah, yeah, I hear you, but you don't hear the
Right.
person. So sometimes it's just that you've lost focus and you're not intending any
Okay.
harm at all. Sometimes it's not so much that you lost focus, but the person isn't important to you. So have you ever been with somebody and they start telling you about their grandmother's hernia? I don't know. They start telling you something and you
And
tune
you roll
out.
your eyes up,
And
and you're
you,
like, I'm not listening.
and you tune out and you can still look like you're tracking them. You go, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. And the person thinks that you are so into this hernia that you want to know every graphic detail. And the fact is that your mind is elsewhere. You're planning your shopping list, or you're planning
Okay.
what TV your show you're going to watch. So sometimes it's more that you're not that important, or what you're talking about is boring to the person. And so that's why one of the listening skills, or one of the both listening and speaking skills, this would actually be a speaking skill, Ayana, would be to occasionally say, did you hear me, or are you following me? Not as a, did you hear me? Not with that edge in your voice,
Right.
but it's just seeing if they're tracking me, or did you get what I just said, or what did you hear me just say? And if the person repeats it, they're more likely to encode it, meaning to retain it.
Mm.
So it could just be, as you say, a character flaw that he's not focused. If it's on something that's really important, like were you drinking again? Or did you sleep with her? Obviously,
Right.
I'm
Right.
pulling out some contentious ones. And the person is going, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Or they just look like it could be it could be much more than not just a character flaw, but it could be that they're dishonest. I mean, that is a
Right.
character
I
flaw,
think
but
that's what I'm coming up to.
and so, what is he saying that where you think the person is dishonest? And that is called evasion. They're pushing away,
Mhm.
they're pushing you away, they're pushing away areas that they don't want to discuss, and they don't want to.
Okay, I will give you an example, and not to cut you off, and we're
Yeah,
highly into it right now. When Thursday, we are motorcycle riders, and
okay.
we do a lot together. There are times where I know every person wants to have private time, so I wait for him to invite me instead of inviting myself to go along.
Yeah,
And it seems as if, I don't know, maybe we're at a place now where if I don't ask, then it seems like he doesn't, want me to go, which is not a problem because I find a lot of other things to fill up my time. But nevertheless, he says, we're not going to go somewhere. And then he gets dressed in front of me and shaves his face and gets all dressed. And I don't think it's another woman. That I'm almost sure of. But I'm just not sure what it is. He gets dressed, and then he comes over and he says,
Hey, I got to interrupt this because we've got to pay some bills. 30 seconds, that's it. A very quick ad, and then Ellen will be back.
Romance. I wish I knew more about what girls want from a relationship. Boy, I wish I knew more about what I want. Where's that ad I saw? Here it is. The Selfish Path to Romance, a serious romance guidebook. Download Chapter 1 for free at selfishromance.com and buy it at amazon.com. Huh. The Selfish Path to Romance. That is interesting.
I'm just not sure what it is. He gets dressed, and then he comes over and he says, I'm going to go ahead and go over there for a little bit, and I'll be back in a few hours or so. And now I'm thinking, and then he says, is that okay? What's wrong? Immediately he's accusing me of, I can't even act like there's something wrong.
Yeah.
It's before I even get it out. He's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, oh, there is nothing wrong, darling. I'm just tired of this. And I mean, he gets really, upset when he's not getting the response from me that he wants. It doesn't even matter if it's true to me, but it's what he wants to hear.
What does he want to hear?
I'm not sure. I don't think that he would be ready for the truth that I think that it's really dishonest and a little bit cruel to tell someone we've been invited together and then say, oh, I'm just going to go over here, instead of saying, I'm just going to ride with the fellas today. And, then I know off top. But now it's like, oh, well, it's not my fault that you're upset and I'm not upset, is what he doesn't know. It's not my fault that you're upset because I changed my mind.
So there's a skill that I use in therapy sometimes, and this isn't therapy, this is just passing this along, which is who's in the room. Meaning let's say that I snap at my husband, and we have a really good relationship, so this is just a pretend example here, but let's say that I snap at him. And it doesn't match the situation. Let's say he was just opening the fridge and I snap at him and he goes, where's that coming from? And I might say, it's nothing, or I might just make something up. And if a therapist said to me, Ellen, who was in the room at that time? And I said, oh my God, I remember when my sisters used to do this, or when my mother or my father or my uncle used to do this. Who's in the room? It could be an injury from the past, and he's responding. Mm-hmm. Maybe you said, how old are you?
I'm 37.
Okay, so you're not starting out in life. Meaning you have some history. Both of you, I'm assuming he's a little older too. You both have some history under your belt. Right. So meaning that if it's, and I know we only have a few seconds left, but if it's the case where he's just snapping at you, but it isn't really you. It's from something in his past. You could share that with him. You could say, I noticed that you say, what's wrong to me right away? And nothing's wrong. Help me understand where that's coming from. Draw him out. Try to let him feel comfortable explaining that. And then give him a direction. Say, it would be better if you said, I'd prefer to drive alone with the guys. That's fine to say, honey. And see if that works at all.
Okay.
Listen, thank you so much for the call, and I wish you some wonderful motorcycle rides with or without him.
And thank you, and you have a good evening.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
And here's a little more from Dr. Kenner.
Now, speak to me.
I love you.
Yes, speak to me of love.
I love you.
Now be eloquent, be brilliant for me.
I love you very much.
I ask for cream and you give me milk and water.
I adore you.
And giving praise is very hard. Have you ever been tongue-tied that way when you really admire somebody, or you really are falling in love with somebody and you want to be able to express that and you just get totally tongue-tied, or you love your kids and you want to express that to them in a way that doesn't sound dull, it doesn't sound dry, it doesn't sound just like a throwaway, I love you, it's got that flat feel. You want to be able to tell them something special about them, something specific. I love the way that you're so generous with your toys, or I love that you are honest with me when it's difficult to do that, honey. You want to be able to have that skill. And that drop was from Cyrano de Bergerac, a very good movie if you haven't seen that. And this is from the original version.
For more Dr. Kenner podcast, go to drkenner.com and please listen to this ad.
Here's an excerpt from The Selfish Path to Romance, the Serious Romance Guidebook by clinical psychologist Dr. Ellen Kenner and Dr. Edwin Locke.
One way to actively and respectfully listen to your partner is to put yourself in each other's shoes. If you are upset because your partner forgot to pay the electric bill, imagine how you'd feel if the tables were turned. This helps you empathize with his or her feelings. Help your partner focus on the essential issue. If he or she is meandering, refocus your partner by gently asking, "What is your main concern?" or "How would you sum up the problem?" If your partner is angry, hurt, or sad, you want to acknowledge the strong emotions or nonverbal messages. "You seem to feel strongly about this," or "I noticed you just wince. What exactly are you feeling?"
You can download Chapter 1 for free by going to drkenner.com. And you can buy The Selfish Path to Romance at amazon.com.